everyone, I'm Rubina.
And I'm Layla.
Welcome back to our channel, Nutrition Unpacked.
We just came off of the paleo diet and we're jumping right into something else. And this time it is an actual challenge.
Seeing if we can actually follow through with a nutrition recommendation. And that is to eat at least 30 different types of plants within 1 week. You first hear that and it's kind of like, that seems doable. We'll see. We'll see. And you might be wondering, well, where is this even coming from? Like, what is the point? Why 30? What is the value of this? Ultimately, it comes down to our gut health. Very hot topic. It's become like more and more part of the public discourse. Like people are gaining more and more awareness of the impact of our gut health.
For so long, we focused on like individual nutrients, how they interact with your body and your intestines, absorption, digestion, all of that. But it's only in the past 20 or so years that we've really gotten to understand the fact that we have this huge ecosystem of bacteria, among other things that are living in your gut. And actually, they have a really big impact on health. Affects things like allergies, diabetes risk, weight and obesity risk, cardiovascular disease risk, cancer risk.
The term gut microbiota is referring to all of the organisms that are in our gastrointestinal tract. And more specifically, the gut microbiome refers to all the genomes of all the collective organisms in our gut. The research is in some level still in its infancy. At this point, I think pretty clear that there's definite correlations between different types of gut microbiomes and certain health outcomes. That being said, I think when it comes to specifics of like, well, which bacteria is good, which bacteria is bad, how much, how can we, whether through fecal transplants or behavior change or diet change, how can we actually get that microbiome to be good enough to positively influence health? I think that is where the future of research is still yet to go. And I mean, we're in it. We're
in it. We're making our way through it.
Some early research does indicate that there could be certain features of your gut that might be associated with better health outcomes. One of which is diversity. The more abundance of different types of organisms you have in your gut, it seems to be a positive thing.
In addition to the diversity of your gut, there's something called short chain fatty acids. And this is kind of one of the outputs of the things that are living in your gut. They kind of like eat on things that you didn't digest properly and they make these short chain fatty acids. And what we've actually found is that these short chain fatty acids can be beneficial for health in many different ways. And maybe some of the ways that we see that the gut microbiome can influence health.
Finally, it seems like, it's not just the types and the absolute amounts of these bacteria that's influential in our health, but also the relative proportions. So some early research seems to indicate that certain ratios of different types of bacteria could be connected to different health outcomes. For example, a few months ago, we learned about the firmicutes and the bacteroidetes. Turns out that a higher ratio of firmicutes to bacteroidetes is associated with obesity.
That brings us to why we're actually doing this challenge. There is a study going on that's known as the American Gut Project. They have collected microbiome samples from people all over the world. In one of their analyses, they looked at what features of people's lifestyles influence the diversity and the health of the gut microbiome. People who ate 30 or more different types of plants per week had a greater diversity of their gut microbiome than those people who ate 10 or less. And not only that, they also had greater productions of short chain fatty acids.
So that brings us to our challenge. Over the next week, we're gonna see, are we gonna be able to hit that 30 plants a week mark?
I don't know. At first I'm like, 30 plants a week. That's nothing. That's nothing. But honestly, thinking about it, because it's like, it's not like, I have peppers today, that's one. I have peppers tomorrow, that's another one. No, if I have peppers, that's one for the whole week.
Yeah. So that's the thing. I think like if you were to look at any given one of my days, I'm probably 10 to 15, but I don't know if that number necessarily grows that much more when I zoom out and look at my whole week.
Yeah, especially so you kind of just do your groceries and then you just eat the same thing or like variations on a theme for the rest of the week. So I don't know, I think it's going to be a challenge, and I think it might be pushed to like try some new vegetables and some new fruits. And that's the thing as well, is when we talk about plants, we always talk about how the healthfulness of fruits and vegetables. But the good thing about this challenge is that it's not just fruits and vegetables, it's all plants.
Legumes, so things like chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans, lentils, even grain products, so things like oats and brown rice, millet, etc.
So Dr. Gundry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Cordain, eat your heart out.
Nuts and seeds, of course. And luckily we get to use herbs and spices as well. However, of course, you know, the quantities of those types of foods tend to be a lot smaller. So each one of those only count as a quarter.
Season your food. Season your food for your gut health.
PSA for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? Are you excited? Are you scared?
I'm excited for it. You know, we just came off the paleo diet. That was like very regimented. I like this because it doesn't feel so much as like, oh, I have to completely overhaul my whole diet, subtract things. I feel like I'm adding things in to increase the healthfulness of my diet. And I think generally that's a little bit easier.
I feel like it's going to be a learning experience to see where I actually fall. Like when I just try to do like mentally think through it, I imagine I might be, without having to change too much, I feel like I'm probably at 15. So I think it is going to be cool to kind of see how close I can get to actually hitting that 30.
I've been like saving little recipes on like TikTok that have like endive in them, and I'm like, okay, let me have some endive. You know, as we mentioned, on the paleo diet, my poops, huge, massive. Just like, I was like, these were like 1 foot,
aspirational,
18 inches plus. Like they were huge.
18 inches?
Honestly, I swear to God, some of my poops were really long.
18 inches?
Yeah, they were big. I had some really big, when I tell you these.
You're about a foot and a half.
Yes. Like definitely longer than a ruler. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It was really good. But you know, I think I've gone back to eating not as much fiber as I was getting definitely on the paleo diet. Also, I think that after the paleo diet, I went a little like, I'm like, no, I'm gonna eat all the things that I couldn't eat, even though they're things that like I wouldn't necessarily eat anyway. And then I went on vacation, so my poops have shriveled up.
So this is good timing.
Good timing, yeah.
Go into this little experiment.
I'm gonna try and get my fiber up again, get those massive poops going again.
One thing that I find really interesting is that the idea of gut health is something that has become part of the public conversation. I think the awareness around how much our gut health and our gut microbiome can influence our mental and physical health is something that I think is becoming more and more common knowledge. In terms of like what you can actually do to maybe improve gut health, having more diversity in the types of plants that you're eating, that specifically I don't necessarily hear that many people talk about. Especially
when you contrast with things like the keto diet, the paleo diet, the grapefruit diet, the whatever. You don't hear about this as much. You know, I kind of went through the internet a little bit to see what people were talking about it, and I saw like a couple Reddit posts here and there, or a couple, you know, Instagram posts here and there, but it's not really talk. Are you having fun, Katie? Okay, well, okay, here we go.
Okay, so what did the Reddit say?
Okay, there was like 1 or 2 different posts on Reddit that were about the topic, but like nothing too in depth, and they didn't have too many comments on it. And when you're going through the comments of those Reddit posts, there seemed to be a lot more like critical thinking and skepticism than like when you read like the keto people or like the paleo people or whatever. So
I wonder if like the lack of interest in this or the lack of buzz. I mean, first of all, it is ultimately just one research study that has found this. It's still very, very early days. I wouldn't even say that this is necessarily a conclusive recommendation that needs to be part of like all the national guidelines or anything like that yet. But I think part of it is also maybe it's just not a super sexy thing to just be like, I mean, the idea of like, oh, eat more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and like maybe plant-based proteins. I feel like,
oh, we hear that over and over and over again.
In some level, maybe it's more of the same, or I'm not really sure. I feel like maybe it's just not as sexy of like an intriguing like, ooh.
Maybe we can sex it up. Maybe we can like sex it up, be like, get more.
How do you want to sex it up, Layla?
I don't know. Like we gotta like look to the paleo people. Why have they been so successful? Like they just make it sound like you're gonna die if you don't do paleo. Yeah, do the 30 plant challenge.
This is why we're in dietetics and not in advertising.
If anyone's in marketing and wants to help us sex this up, let us know.
So we're going to document how our week goes, our struggles, our strategies, and how to pack in as many plant foods as possible over the next week. Wait, speaking of that, are we trying to get to as high a number as possible?
Oh, a competition? Okay, you're on. I'm very, very competitive. So.
Oh, shoot.
Okay. It's no longer the 30 plant per week challenge. It is officially
the Layla.
I don't know why you're calling it that. I think it should be the Beat Rabina challenge. It's going to be the get the most possible plant foods possible challenge. I'm going to be cooking every day of the week. Like And this is starting from when? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow. So
Midnight tonight.
yes.
I'm like waking up at midnight, cooking some quinoa, some endives, some shallots, some... Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay, you're on.
Yeah.
Are we gonna like tell each other where we're at? Like if like it's Wednesday and you're like I'm at 48 already.
48. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are we gonna keep, or is it gonna be a surprise next week?
You tell me how would you prefer it?
I don't know. How about we do a halfway
A
point?
halfway point. So Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay.
Thursday we'll update each other with what
Okay.
our counts are, and then I'll
That will
know.
give you 3 days to catch up to me, so... Because we're filming on Saturday. next
Beat
week.
your ass. Okay, now I'm excited.
Now I'm excited too.
I was kind of faking it before, but now
I'm
I'm
very
actually
excited. I love a good competition, so you're on. Okay.
Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Feel free to place some bets in the comments if you wish. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And I don't know why it's so hard to do this wrap up thing.
It really is.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm supposed to say. And hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. That's what it was.
Make sure you tune in next week to see who comes out as the champion. Thanks for watching. Bye.